Hello everybody and welcome back to your maths learning with me this week. So we're going to continue with what we were doing yesterday, which was thinking about number sequences using fractions. Okay, so we're going to rewind some of our old fraction learning, okay, at simply showing fractions as pictorial diagrams. I'm just going to move myself out of the way so you can actually see. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to rewind your knowledge of how we show pictorial representations of fractions, match them up with the fraction or the mixed number, okay? And then I would like you to use that knowledge and use those pictures to help you put these in descending order. We descend down the elevator, the lift, descending, okay? I want you to put them into descending order. Once you've done that, if you want a little challenge and you think that you have smashed your learning from yesterday, could you tell me the sequence, the pattern of the sequence that you have just created? Okay, so matching them up with the pictorial representation and then putting them in descending order, which is from your largest to the smallest. And come on back when you've had a go. Brilliant. So hopefully you've had a little go at that. So let's match them up and see if you got them correct. So quite simple one right here. That one is 1/10 because 10 parts make up my whole. Let me check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. And I have one of them. Now this one here is a mixed number of 1 and 3/10. So I know I'm looking for 1 whole and 3/10, which is this one over here. This one here, we've simply got an improper fraction, which is 17/10. So I know that I will have 1 whole because 10 is 1 whole, and I will have 7/10 left over. So that one belongs to that one there. This one here, we've got 9/10. So 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9/10, which is there. And this one, I threw this one in here to be a little bit sneaky. I've simplified the fraction. So what is equivalent to 1/2? 5/10. Tricky one there. So remember, equivalent fractions, it's the same amount, but I've just simplified it to 1/2 because that's exactly what it's showing me. Okay, it's still showing me 1/2, but it's 5/10. So next part then, we need to put them in descending order. So descending, I'm looking for the largest one. Now, I have thrown in a little bit of a trick here because I've got some improper fractions, some mixed numbers, and some fractions. Okay? But this is why I gave you the pictures to help you, because the pictures really help you to visualize which is the largest one. So you can see here that this one is taking up most of those holes. Okay, so I'm going to move this one out of the way. So my largest is going to be 7/10 because actually it's 1 whole and 7/10. So which one is going to go next? This one here, which is 1 and 3/10 because I've got less of those tenths there. Right. Then let's have a look at these 3. Then I'm going to go for 9/10 because that's filling up most of that 1 whole. Then we've got a 1/2. And then we have got fantastic. So there is my number sequence. Let's just get the pictures out of the way and put it into a number sequence here. Because now I gave you the extra challenge. Can you figure out what this pattern is? Now, to make this easier for me, I'm going to keep them all in tenths. Okay, so this one here, I know we've just done it, is actually 5/10. And this one here, let's convert it back to an improper fraction. 1 whole is 10/10, and I've got 3. So this one is actually 13/10. Oh, I made a mistake there. Oh dear, hang on, Miss Sison. 1/2 / 5/10 is not, let me just get my clicker, where is it? Is not bigger than 9/10, Miss Sison. Silly, silly, silly. Let's get rid of that. Let's that bit out because that one doesn't go there. And let's write again. Ooh, why is that rubber still on? Okay. 5/10. There we go. So here is my pattern then. So I can see straight away that my numerator, my denominator is staying the same because I put them all into the same denominator now. I've got mixed numbers and I've put this back into its 10th version. So here I can see that my number is going down. So I know it's going to be descending, it's going down, it's decreasing. So I had 17 tenths and I've gone down to 13. So 17, 16, 15, 14, 13. So 4, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 4, 8, 7, 6, 5, 2, 1, 4. Yes, so my pattern is decreasing by how many each time? 4 tenths. My pattern is decreasing by 4 tenths each time. Well done to you if you got that right. If not, don't worry, today is still practicing this skill, and so hopefully by the end of it you will get the hang of it. So as I've said, today we are going to be continuing with our counting and completing number sequences, which include fractions. And again, because it's going to start to give us an idea and start to get our brains ticking over on comparing these fractions. So let's have a look then at today's first challenge. Now, before we go there, we are going to quickly rewind our STEM sentence that's going to help us with our number sequences this week. Is it, I'm not going to make you write it down this time, we're just going to say it. Is it increasing or decreasing, and how many by? Fantastic. So these are the steps that are going to help you to work it out today. So can you have a go at this one for me? First thing I want you to do, explain it glasses on, is explain what this pattern is. So is it increasing and decreasing, and how many by? This sequence is increasing by each time or decreasing by each time, okay? Using your pictures, if you would like to draw it out so you can see it a little bit clearer. Lots of different ways that we practiced yesterday, using that app still if you wanted to, that the link that I sent you yesterday. I'd like you to find the next mixed number in this sequence. Okay, I've just shown you the first one at the start. You could do it all as improper fractions if you are more confident with improper fractions. If you are confident at converting mixed numbers into improper fractions, sometimes that is easier to see the pattern. Okay, but it's totally up to you. If you are confident with using your knowledge of mixed numbers, go with that. Whatever is easiest for you. Okay, we've all got our different methods. Use it. What is the next one? And then an extra little use it challenge is how many more times would it take me to hit 5 in this sequence? 5. Once you've had a go at that, come on back. Okay, so let's start off with the explain it then. I'm hoping that you have explained what is happening in this sequence. So we've started with 1 3/4. Then we've got 2. Do you know what? I'm going to draw this to help me. It's going to help me to see it. Okay, let me just get my board. Here we go. So we've got 1 3/4. Can you see that? I've got 1, and I know that they're split into quarters because my denominator is 4. There's my 1 3/4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and that one, and that one. Okay. Next one then is 2. Now I'm going to assume that they are going to have the same denominator. So what has happened here to get me to there? There's my 1 3/4. Here's my 2. I know that it's increased and it's increased. This one stayed the same, but this one has changed. What's happened? It's got an extra quarter. So now hopefully, if we are correct, 2 1/4 will stay the same as this. We'll have 1 extra quarter, which we are correct. I have gained another quarter, so I've still got those 2 holes, but now I've got another quarter. Okay, so I am getting here that my pattern is increasing by 1/4 each time. That is the rule for this sequence. I forgot what it was called then. Okay, now this next one is where it confuses me a little bit, because it now goes to 2 1/2. Forward across a little bit more. It now goes to 2 1/2. So I've still got my 2, but I'm not working. I'm adding a quarter each time. Is it possible for me to add a quarter and end up with 2 1/2? Let me have a look. Let me draw it. Let me draw it to help me. Move that down there, look. So I'm adding, that's what I had before, and I'm adding another. I see what they've done there. I see what they've done. Can you see what they've done? They have changed 2 2/4 into 1/2, because we know that 2/4 is equal to 1/2. Of course, they've used their equivalent fraction knowledge. I see what they've done there. So now I know that my pattern then is going up, increasing by 1/4 each time, and they've only thrown that 1/2 in there just to try and throw me out, which is also the same as 2/4. So let me get my pen. I'm going to change that to 2/4. Should be able to see this pattern now. 1 3/4, 2. 2 1/4, 2 2/4, 2 3/4. I'm going to have a go at 2. I'm following this pattern, and 4/4 would be your next number in this line. I'm just going to draw that, because something doesn't quite sound right to me. 2 4/4. 2 holes, 4 equal parts. And 4/4. 1 2 3. I see what I've done there. 2 4/4 is actually 2 plus 1 more whole, which equals 3. So instead of 2 4/4, I can also say that that is 3. Well done to you if you got that correct using your knowledge of halves and quarters. So they might throw a little few sneaky ones in there using your knowledge of equivalent fractions. Now, let's have a look at this next one then. How many more times would it take me to hit 5 in this sequence? Now, one way that you could do this, you could simply just write out the rest of it until you get to what you want. So I'm on 3. So the next one is going to be 3 1/4, 3 2/4, 3 3/4. Remember, when it hits 4/4, it's equal to 4. Next one will be 4 1/4. 4, and I'm going to be sneaky, 1/2. 4 3/4, and 5. A little bit bigger so you can see. And 5. Okay, so how many more times did it take me to get to that? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 more times. 8 more times. Now, I could have even done that in either quicker way. Okay, don't worry if you just did it like this. But I use my knowledge of quarters. Okay, and if I'm going up in quarters each time, every single 4 quarters that you get to, 4 jumps, is going to equal 1. So if I was on 3, let me just write this out. Yes, I am using a sock. I forgot to bring my wiper home over the holidays. Great wiper. So if I know that 3, to get to 4, I need to add 4 quarters because that's another whole. And then to get to 5, I need to add 4 more quarters. So I know that I'm going to do 4 jumps to get to 4, 4 more jumps to get to 5. So I know that it was going to take me 8. That's just a quick way. If you wanted to use your knowledge of quarters, well done if you noticed that pattern. If that's just blown your brain, do not worry. You carry on with your sequences. It's just a little bit of an evaluate it quicker way to do this. Okay, so let's get going then. Let me clear this, those drawings, okay? I would like you to now have a go at this for yourself, okay? So here is a problem, okay? What this counting machine would like you to do is it's counting in quarters, which is just like we've just practiced, okay? What I'd like you to do is to put them into a number sequence. It counts in quarters. So if it's counting in quarters, that's going to tell me that my number pattern is increasing or decreasing. Which one do you think? I'm not going to tell you. Just want you to have a go, okay? And it likes you to put them into a number sequence. Nice and easy, okay? Once you've got them into a sequence, what I would like you to do is to then explain the pattern, the number pattern, okay? I'm squatting down because I pushed that down. I want you to write that number pattern for me, okay? No, explain what the number pattern is. Sorry, everybody, I just got distracted by whatever this is. I think it's a coat. And then what I'd like you to do is to draw your pictorial representations for each one, okay? So putting them in order, it's counting in quarters, so it's probably going to go up. What is the pattern that you have created? And could you do pictorial representations to prove what is happening in your sequence? Once you've had a go at that, come on back. Okay, so let's get started then. Now, I don't know how you will have done this, but probably very similar to how I'm about to do it. The first thing I started to think of was putting them in size order. Okay, you can't see me because I've got my little board today. Putting them in size order, okay, because I know if I'm counting quarters, my smallest number is going to go first. So the first thing I'm going to do is think about which of these is the smallest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So which one have I missed? Okay. Now, the first thing I notice is that all of these fractions, some of them have got different denominators. Okay, so we're going to use our knowledge of equivalent fractions to say that a half is the same as what? We've already done that in that question before. A half is the same as 2 quarters. Okay, so when I see a half, I can see 2 quarters, and this one over here is 1.5. So I know that this is also equal to 1 and 2 quarters. Okay, just because now they're all got the same denominator, it's easier for me to work and to see that pattern. So the smallest one then, I know straight away that 1 quarter is going to be the first one because it's the smallest in my array, the smallest cards. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that one. Now I'm going to have a look for which one comes next. So I've got 3 quarters. I know that's an improper fraction. So I know it's not going to be that one because that's bigger than 1. This is bigger than 1 whole. This is 1 whole, and this is bigger than 1 whole. So it's going to be 2 quarters or 3 quarters. Now, using my knowledge, 1, 2, 3, I know that it's going to be 1 quarter, 2 quarters, and 3 quarters. But remember, this isn't 2 quarters. So underneath, I'm going to write 1/2 as well, because that is what it is saying in the question. Okay. So I've done this one and I've done this one. Now, this is where I need to have a look at which one is now the smallest. So I've got 5 quarters, which I notice is an improper fraction. I've got 1.5, or 1 2/4. I've got 1, and I've got 1 1/3. So now I need to work out which one is going to go next. Okay, just move that back a little bit so you can see the rest of the board. Will be the easiest thing, I think. There we go, that's better. So we've got 1/4, 2/4, and 3/4. They're all gone now. So this one I know is going to make more than 1. This one has got more than 1, and this one has got more than 1. So I know that 1 whole on its own is going to go next, because that is the same as 4/4. Okay, you're seeing what I'm doing here, taking it step by step, thinking about things that I already know. Now I've got 1 3/4, I've got 1 2/4, and I've got 5/4. Now, what is the problem that I've got here? I need to now think about either them all as mixed numbers or all of them as improper fractions, because that is going to help me to compare them. Okay, so I know these two are already in mixed numbers, so I'm going to turn this one into a mixed number. So 5/4, I've got 5/4. How many of those quarters will make a whole? 4 of them. And how many do you have left? 1. So 5/4 is the same as 1 1/4. So now you can see I've got 1 1/4, 1 2/4, and 1 3/4, which are now very, very easy to put in order, because we know that 1 1/4, which is, let me write it as it is in the question, 5/4. I need to do the same for this one, because I'm just not answering the question properly if I do it the other way. Just put the one to help me underneath. 5/4, which is 1 1/4. Then I've got 1 1/2, which we converted to 1 2/4 to help us. And then finally finishing off with 1 3/4. That is your symbol there. Fantastic. So you may have done it this way. You may have drawn your representations to help you, to give you a little bit of support, but you could have just used the knowledge that I've just shown you there. So well done to you if you got that right. So 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, 1 whole, 5/4, 1 1/2, 1 3/4. Each time it is going up by 1/4. So here, 1/4 goes to 2/4, 2/4 to 3/4, 3/4 to 4/4, 5/4. So there, you could say 1 1/2 or 6/4, and there you've got 7/4, 1 3/4. So well done to you if you got that correct. Brilliant, well done. So we're going to use that skill now. Okay, and I've got some questions for you to have a go at. Now, it's just showing you a few different ways in which you could answer these questions. So this first one here, they've given you the pictorial representations. Okay, they've given you the fractions that they want you to work with. Now, they've been quite kind. They are all in thirds, so they're not trying to trick you on that one. Okay, and it's simply asking you, can you match them up with what they are showing, their pictorial representation, which then will help you to put them in the correct order. But you've got 2 question marks, so you then need to work out what those 2 question marks are, so that you can complete the sequence on the number line. Okay, this one here is just simply asking you to fill in what numbers you would land on if you were counting up in fifths. Okay, so think about those improper fractions or mixed numbers. You can show them in 2 different ways. This one here is giving you a sequence, and it would like you to carry it on for the next 3, as is this one. So this one you're working in quarters, but they've put that cheeky little half in there. And this one looks like you are working in sixths. Okay, so remember, using that knowledge when your denominators and your numerator is the same as 1 whole. Just remember that knowledge for me. Okay, once you've had a go at those, there is an extra little challenge here. Now, this one got my brain working quite a lot. So just have a little go at this. It starts at 10 and it gets to 12 in this many jumps, what could the number sequence be? This one took my brain a little while to work out. Okay, but don't worry if you're not quite ready for that yet. You stick with keep practicing this, drawing your pictorial representations and using them to help you. Once you've had a go at those, come on back and we'll see how you got on. Welcome back, everybody. I'm hoping that you've had a little go at that now. So my board has just decided to collapse, so I'm going to do my drawing on here. I hope that you can still see it as clear, and I will try and fix. Oh, everything's just breaking today. Gone into the dark now. It's very dark. So I have to have this light on so you can see me. There we go. Okay, so there we go. So let's have a look at this first one then. So let's just simply use these fractions, these pictorial representations to help us, okay? Because they are there, let's use them. So here, how many parts make my whole? 3 parts make my whole, and I have 1 of them. So let's see, have I got my 1/3 card there? Yes, I have. So I'm going to put that in that first box there, because that's my smallest one, okay? This one here is going to be the same. I've got 3 equal parts make up my whole, and I have 2 of them. So this one, oh, not a 3, 2. Getting ahead of myself there. Okay, this one here, I've got 3 equal parts, and I have all 3 of them. Now, you could write it as 3/3, but how else could I write it? Do I have 3/3 as an option there? No, I do not. So that's going to be one of our question marks. Okay, so you could write 3/3, or how I'm going to do it, 1 whole, because the numerator and the denominator are the same, which means 1 whole. This one here, I've got 1 whole, and I've got 1/3. So I could have 1 whole and 1/3, or I could have 1, 2, 3, 4 thirds as an improper fraction. So let's have a look over here. Do I have 1 and 1/3? Oh, no, but I do have 4/3, which means that would go in that box there. 4/3. This one here, I'm going to go for the improper fraction straight away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/3. Do I have 5/3 as an option over here? No, I do not. So I could, in this box, write 5/3, or I could write 1 and 2/3, which would be another one of my question marks. What should we go for? What should we go for? I'm going to go for my 1 and 2/3. Here, this one here, I can see 1 whole and 2 wholes, nice and easy. There is the number 2. I've got 2 wholes. What would that be as an improper fraction? 6/3. Well done. This one here, I've got 2 wholes and 1/3. Now I haven't got any question marks left. So this one is not 2 and 2/3, so it must be 7/3 next. Shall we have a look? Let's use my knowledge. So I've got 2 wholes, which this is 3/3, and this is 3/3, which is 6/3. And then I've got 1/3 left over, which is 7/3. Yeah, 7/3. Well done. And then this one here, if I've done it right, should be 2 and 2/3. So there's 1 whole. There's 2 wholes, and there is 2 of those 3 equal parts. So 2/3. Let's say our pattern, 0, 1/3, 2/3, 1, 4/3, 1 and 2/3, 2, 7/3, and 7 and 7, 2 and 2/3. Well done to you if you got that right. This one here then, let's see, if I've on 0 and I add a 5th, it's going to be a 5th. Another 5th will then give me 2/5. Another 5th will give me 3/5. Another 5th will give me 4/5. Now this next one here, 5/5, or I could simply make it easier for myself and write 5/5. They are the same, 1 whole. And then this one, you could write it as an improper fraction or a mixed number, it's up to you. 1 and 1/5, or you might have written this as 5/5 and 6/5. facts because it's not actually told me whether it wants it in mixed numbers or in proper fractions. Okay, so I will let you have both of them. Well done. Now, this one here, you can see, is in mixed numbers. Okay, so I expect these ones to be in mixed numbers. So we've got 4, 3 3/4, 3 1/2, 3 1/4. Now, I've noticed straight away that my whole is going down. So this is decreasing. But now, what am I decreasing by? Oh, there's the tricky one again, look. 1/2 is the same as 2/4. So I'm going to just write that there, just because that's going to help me to see this pattern. So let's have a look. 4 wholes, and now I've got 3 3/4. So what do I need to add to that 3/4 to get another whole? 1/4. So I think that we are going down in quarters. We are subtracting a quarter each time, because here, 3 3/4, 3 2/4, 3 1/4. So if I've got 3 1/4, let's do a bit of a stubby finger. If I've got 3 1/4 and I take away that 1/4, what am I going to have left? I'm going to have 3. Now, this is where it gets a bit tricky. So I've got 3. I'm going to draw this to help me. I'm just going to hold my broken board so you can see it. So I've got, oh, I'm still on pen. Don't want the pen right now. So I've got 3 wholes, and I know that they are all quarters. There we go. I'm going to take away one of those quarters because that's what my pattern is asking me to do. So now what do I have? 1 whole, and now I have 3/4. So my next one is going to be 2. That's my pen again now. 2 3/4. And then I'm going to take another one. Now, you could have written this one in 2 different ways. You could have written 2 2/4, or you may have been extra smart and followed that pattern and put 2 1/2. I will accept both of them. Well done to you. Okay, now this next one then, let's look. Where's my rubber gone? Okay, so we've got 1 5 6. I'm going to draw this one straight away to help me. I know that my parts, 6 equal parts make my whole. There's my 6 equal parts. I've got 1 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The next one, I've got 2 wholes. So what do I need to add to this picture here to get 2 wholes? I need to add another 6. So I'm going to add 1/6. Okay, so then if I add that 6 and then I add another one, I've then got 2 1/6, which is the next one. Added 1/6. So you can see how these pictorial representations can really help you to see this. Okay, so I'm on 2 1/6. I'm going to add another 6. So now this next one should be 2 2/6. I'm going to add another one. 2 3/6. Again, you might even see some people 3/6. 3 is half of 6. You might have even written that as 2 1/2 if you were trying to be clever. 1/6. Add another 6 is going to be 2 4/6. 2. Oh, I forgot to write that one in. 2 3/6 and 2 4/6. So well done to you if you got those correct. I think that E there was quite a nasty one. So well done to you if you got all of those correct. Well done to you. Now, if you got onto this explain it, then listen to me. If you didn't, you can now just fast forward to the next challenge if you think it's just going to confuse your brain a little bit more, or if you just simply would like to know how I did this one or how we did this one, then feel free to listen. Okay, so the first thing then, I took the information that 10 was my starting number and 12 was my finishing number. Okay, so 10 and 12. I have jumped 2 whole numbers there. So the first thing I did was think about that whole number that goes in between, because we don't count 8, 9, 10, 12. We count 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So then what I thought was 11 has got to go right in the middle of 10 and 12, because on any number line, you will find 11 in between, right in the middle of 10 and 12. So then what I did was, just minimize myself because all you're going to see is my forehead. What I did was look to see what that middle box would be. So I noticed that there was 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I knew that this one here was going to be my middle number. So I knew that that was going to be 11. Okay. Now I know that these can't go up in ones because my 1 jump is actually there and my 1 jump is there. So a 1 whole would jump from there to there. But actually these smaller steps here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 jumps that make that whole. So using my knowledge, 4 jumps make my whole, 4 parts make my whole. What must I be going, what must I be going up in? I must be going up in quarters. So this one here will be 10 and 1/4. This one would be 10 and 2/4. Can you see what's happening here? This would be 10 and 3/4, which then 1 more quarter would make 4/4, which would make another whole, which would make 11. And then 11 and 1/4, 11 and 2/4, 11 and 3/4. Okay, so there's the knowledge that I used to fill in that gap. So I knew that 11 went in between 10 and 12. Okay, I knew that there were 4 smaller steps between 10 and 11, which means there were 4 equal parts. So each of them must have been 1/4 to make a whole. Okay, that would be my explanation. You could have even done this in different ways. You might have done this in, you could have done this in 8s, and you could have gone up in 2 8s each time, because 1/4 is equal to 2 8s. Okay, so excuse me. So there are lots of different ways that you could have done this. That to me was the simplest one, but you may want to challenge yourself if you've got a little bit of time on your hands to see if you could find any other sequences that you could have done to get from 10 to 12. Well done. Brilliant. So we've done enough practicing with me now. So what I'd like you to do is to get into your Power Maths books. Okay, so this is on page 51. Simply the first one, just like we did at the start, they've given you some pictorial representations. So this one here is fractions into mixed numbers. This one here is sequences as improper fractions. They're just asking you to tell you what those pictures represent. Okay, and then it will create a sequence underneath. That's all you have to do for that one. This one here, they want you to draw those diagrams, and so you really need to take note of what that denominator is. So draw it, and then can you describe the rule for this sequence? So that's using our STEM sentence. Is it increasing? Is it decreasing? And how many by? Okay. This one here then, this one is where you might need to use your brain a little bit more, because you're going to have to draw more than one line. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is first of all, join up the patterns, the number sequences, which ones begin with 5 and which ones begin with 2. Okay, begins on 5, begins on 2. So that's where you might need to use your knowledge of mixed numbers, improper fractions, to tell me which of those starts on 5, which of those starts on 2. Okay, once you've done that, you then need to join them and join it to the correct description. Okay, so is it counting down in thirds? Is it counting up in 8s? Is it counting down in halves? Or is it counting up in quarters? So you need to join it to 2 of those different things. Wonderful. Once you've done that, you can then continue the sequence. So it's giving you on this first one that it's going up in quarters. What would be the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one? This one here, they haven't given you any clue on what the pattern is. So you're going to have to use those 3 numbers to work out what that pattern is. And once you've done that, as always, a little challenge. So here is question 4A. She notices that she can use 3 different denominators and there is a pattern. There is still a pattern. Explain why the denominators 2 and 3 appear in this number sentence, but the denominator 4 does not. Okay, so that's using some of your equivalent fraction knowledge from a few weeks ago. Fantastic. And then once you've done that, then you'll explain it. You can just create your own sequence that's counting down in quarters. Write the sequence in different ways. So this is where you might want to show it as improper fractions, mixed numbers, or even trying to have a go at using those different denominators like we've been doing 2 quarters and a half. You might want to use your knowledge of equivalent fractions. So just try and trick your brain and your partners, whoever is wanting to read this work, a little bit more and show off how fantastic you are. I hope you all have a fantastic day and I will see you all again soon. Goodbye.